Hi there folks, I'm GTDae, the Average Joe Gamer, and welcome to my very first news video where I'll be going over the weekly Star Citizen news and talk about some of the things that I've been up to recently. For the time being, I'll call this show The Week in Review until I can come up with a proper name for it. I have some ideas, but nothing has jumped out at me as the one. If you've got any good ideas, comment below and I'll take it into consideration, and remember, you'll get full credit for it, of course. So let's jump right into it. This week was a rather quiet week for myself as I had to deal with some software issues that prevents me from editing my videos. I've tried to sort it out, and as of right now everything seems to be back to normal. In the meantime, I've been trying to complete some ECN alert missions in the PU with various levels of success. After completing a few in a row, I noticed new missions popping up like bounty hunter missions and some fetch style missions. I presume the new missions that I've been given is because a certain reputation goal was met. I've subsequently done one or two of the bounty hunter missions, and they are quite simple to complete as opposed to the ECN alert missions. The rep system does seem a little bit fragile because when you complete a few missions in a row, you are trusted with more and more missions. But fail one, it seems you are back to square one. I seem to be able to chain a few completions together, and one or two failures put me on the back foot. I would really love to see some sort of visual representation of where we stand in terms of reputation with certain factions. It doesn't have to be a rep system like in World of Warcraft with a progress bar, but it would be nice to know if Miles Eckhart notices what I'm doing or if I'm bashing my head against the wall. During this week, I have also kept an eye on performance between different server locations. At the moment, I'm getting better latency on the Australian servers, and that seems to have a positive effect on my FPS. When I enter the display info command in the console, I see around 20 to 35 ms to the Aussie servers with 30 to 45 FPS. The EU servers give me 50 to 70 ms and 17 to 25 FPS, while my connection to the US server seems to be very unstable with anything from 25 to 125 ms and 10 to 30 frames per second. These tests was all run at different times of my day with mostly similar latency and frame rates. These were by no means scientific tests, but the results seem to be quite consistent. It is worth mentioning that I'm from South Africa and I live in an area with only ADSL, fixed wireless and mobile data connections, so my internet options are severely limited. I will share some speed tests in future videos just for comparison. Now let's move on to the Star Citizen news of the week. I will not discuss all the news from Star Citizen this week, but I will briefly focus on the bits that I found most interesting. These bits will be very subjective, and there will be something that excites other people that don't quite get me as hyped up. You're more than welcome to ask me what I think on certain topics in the comments, and I will get back to you. It was quite an interesting week in Star Citizen with 3.1 being released with the Evocati. There's been many interesting leaks so far, and I am eagerly waiting for the next wider test phase to be released. Good luck to the Evocati testers, and we wish you happy testing and good frames. Let's move on to calling all devs. Buying ship weapons with Alpha USC was the first question, and I was very excited to hear this, because this is something I hoped for in Alpha 3.0. Unfortunately, it didn't make it in because the conversion from Object 1.0 to Object 2.0 was not done. The devs are hard at work to get this ready for Alpha 3.2. Let's cross our fingers for that. At the moment, there is no exact timeline to have AI and slave turrets, but the multi-crew gameplay is focused on getting the turrets to work as good as possible with actual players before AI-operated turrets can be worked on. I would love to have engaging and responsive turret gameplay so that my friends and I can have that type of experience, but to have slave turrets would also be great. Around the Verse this week was filmed with a live studio audience for the first time, with some subscribers on a studio tour getting the opportunity to see what happens behind the scenes. It looked like a fun experience, and I was certainly green with envy. Ricky Jutley shared his status report on the PU, and this is where all the juicy details was hidden. Let's dig in. Vehicles that were displayed on the HUDs and MFDs in 3.0 used to be separate systems, but with the render to texture tech, these have been updated to be renders of the actual vehicle in the verse. This means that it's no longer imitations of the target, but the actual representations of what is happening in game. This is seriously exciting immersion tech that I can't wait to get my hands on. In the near future, we will be able to add extra info into our visor, so that when we enter our ships, information like the target hologram, weapon systems and energy screens will be displayed in our visor, accompanied by MFD information. This means you won't have to look down to see the ammo and power status of your weapons, making combat more immersive. A lot of improvements are being made to planetary surfaces to make it look more visually pleasing while keeping the performance requirements on the same levels as it is now. A lot of progress was made on getting the Misk Razor, Anvil Terrapin, Aegis Reclaimer and Tumbril Cyclone flight ready. There was some beautiful footage shown of the inside of the Reclaimer, which made me very excited to see it in the PU. The personal and vehicle management apps are now in polishing and bug fixing phase. This is something that got me really excited because they are extremely important parts of the Mobiglass in my view, and they have been very buggy in Alpha 3.0. I can't wait to be able to easily change items on both my character and my ships going forward. Changes are being made to the Mobiglass to look a lot better and information to be more legible. One of the major changes is that it will fill more screen space to make the UI display visual elements more clearly. The long-awaited character customizer got some attention. A more varied animation loop was added with some random lively character movements instead of a still hollow face staring back at us. The first iteration of the service beacon is planned for Alpha 3.1. This will enable us to create our own missions like personal transport or combat assistance missions. Once a mission is created, a quantum travel beacon will be added to the UI and the player will be able to jump to where the mission giver is in space. While the mission is active, both players will be able to see where the other is. Both players will be able to cancel at any time, and a player rating system will be implemented much like that of Uber. That way trolls and griefers can be singled out as such, so be careful how you deal and interact with players in the verse. A large part of Around the Verse this week was dedicated to game optimization. Optimization is the main feature that is being worked on for Alpha 3.1. A more optimized game will make it more accessible for more players and hopefully help drive the game development going forward. Because Star Citizen is a space game, it has many entities that the computer has to deal with. The more entities in the game, the more work our PCs have to do between frames. This is why optimization is such a major buzzword around the development of the game and why such a large section of ATV this week was centered around optimization. It was a fascinating look into work being done to optimize the game, and the result was frankly way above my head and beyond my understanding. This segment of ATV gave me a new admiration and respect for the devs working on this project. I personally can't simplify the processes that the devs talked about on ATV because my understanding is so limited. I will make an effort to get a better understanding to be able to simplify it better in the future. This week's Reverse the Verse did go a long way in explaining a lot of the technologies they are working on to optimize the game, so let's have a go at quickly explaining these. Network bind culling is a way of isolating entities in your vicinity. Entities that are beyond a certain threshold is then streamed from the game servers to your system, thus reducing the amount of work your computer has to do on a frame-by-frame basis. This goes hand in hand with object container streaming. Object container streaming is basically a bunch of boxes filled with lists of items. As you move from box to box, the servers hand your system a list of entities that are within a certain range. As I understand it, anything from a planet to a landing zone to a ship can be an object container. And depending on where you are, your system is spoon-fed the items it needs instead of all the items in the world. Serialized variable bind culling is the little brother of network bind culling. As with network bind culling, entities in your vicinity is isolated so that your system don't need to think about anything outside a certain range. These technologies are designed to reduce the current performance issues by reducing the amount of entities that our systems have to deal with on a frame-by-frame basis. It should also smooth out frame rates when a new item is spawned into a game. This will fix the game stalls we experience when you spawn a new ship into the world. Lastly, we got a newly formatted newsletter this week. The newsletter is a bit cleaner and a bit lighter, which I like. All the usual newsletter content was there, including a summary of this week's news, and it also mentioned that the Nox queue have been added to the roadmap for Alpha 3.1. So that is it for this week's news. In the coming week, I'll be trying to get Miles Eckhart to trigger. I've been slogging through the EC and alert missions over the last few weeks to try and get him to say hi. But regrettably, he still seems a bit suspicious of me. I'll be crossing my fingers that this week he will pop up. I will also try to have a few live streams on Twitch this week, and you can find the link to my Twitch channel in the description below. I will also be keeping an eye on the Nuba Fire's interview with Benoit from Turbulent. I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope to hear something interesting there. BoardGamer had an interview with Aaron Roberts at the Foundry 42 studio, and I am looking forward to that as well. I'll be going through both these interviews and share the bits that I found particularly interesting and why. As with this week, I will keep an eye on the usual Star Citizen content and make some notes on the news that I found most exciting. So all in all, this was a good week for Star Citizen and its backers as the hype is building towards a wider PTU release of Alpha 3.1. I personally can't wait. Thank you for watching my first week in review show, and I hope there was some content that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the content, please give it a thumbs up below and a thumbs down if you didn't. Comment below on what you liked and what you disliked, and I will make an effort to improve. In the video description below, you'll find links to all the content that I've covered today. While you are down there, check out my other social media links and follow me there for more content. I would massively appreciate it if you would support me on Patreon, and thanks to those of you already doing so, you are absolute heroes. Another way of supporting me is by visiting my merch store at designbyhumans.com. I'm GTDae, the Average Joe Gamer, and once again, thanks for watching, stay awesome, and I will see you in the next one.